Hello, everyone. Recently, I was studying the political nature of the East Indies, most especially the Dutch East Indies, now known as the country of Indonesia, and the British East Indies, now known as Malaysia. So, after those two, I look northwards to the Spanish East Indies. Yep, but it's not just the Philippines. Yeah, the common mistake here is that people associate the Spanish East Indies to only the Philippine Islands, where in fact it actually includes the entire stretch of this territory here. Yeah, I've noticed that after independence from the Dutch and the British, Indonesia and Malaysia kept and expanded their former colonial territories. But the Spanish East Indies actually broke apart to make the modern nations of the Philippines, Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, the Northern Marianas, and, of course, the US territory of Guam, and a few outposts in the Dutch East Indies. This is the Ponderer, and today we ponder the question, what if the Spanish East Indies united today? Remember the whole debate if a Filipino is Asian or a Pacific Islander? Well, technically, they fall in both categories. You can consider a Filipino an Asian at the same time a Pacific Islander. Let's start with the name of this new country. Judging by the trends in the region, as well as the demographic profile of the people living in the territory, I think a cool and proper name for this country would be Austronesia. I know, it sounds a bit familiar, but I can assure you it's definitely not. The government of this new country would most probably be a federal republic separated into 40 political divisions. More on that later on. I have personally designed a new flag for this country. Drum rolls, please. The 40 stars here represents the division of the federal territories under the new nation. They include 17 regions of the Philippines, the 16 regions of Palau, 2 in the Marianas Islands, and 4 in Micronesia. The sun here represents the shining glory and bright future of the Republic. It also represents the shared history and unity of the new nation. The four rays here represents the four main island groupings of this new nation, namely the Philippine Islands, the Marianas, the Carolines, and the Palaus. The blue on the back represents the ocean where the islands currently resides. The white here represents love for peace and justice, and the red part represents the blood of love for their nation. Territory-wise, having no land borders and whose location is completely surrounded by sea, it would be one empty country. This new country will include all the former territories of the Spanish East Indies before American control, which spans the entirety of the Philippine Islands, the nation of Palau, the Northern Marianas Island, the Federated States of Micronesia, and Guam. The land area of this new nation will approximately be 302,165 square kilometers, but if you include its territorial waters, the entire EEZ of the country will amount to a whopping 5 million square kilometers, which will make it the number one country in the world with the biggest EEZ, dethroning the current record holder, France. This area is actually quite massive. To put into perspective, India, which is called a subcontinent, has a land area of about 3.287 square kilometers. You could fit the entire country of India in this new country's territory and still have room to spare. The area is a very strategic region as it is the gateway of the Pacific to Asia and controls a sizable amount of the habitable land in the almost barren Pacific Ocean. The country would be transcontinental. As such, it is an important trade route for goods coming from Asia to North and South America, as well as to other regions of Oceania. With proper management, control of these goods will make the new nation very wealthy. Unfortunately, the new country is the heart of typhoon territory because the area itself is where many typhoons in the Pacific form. The capital of the new nation, if you were more of a traditionalist, would be Manila, as all these territories were once controlled by the Spaniards in Manila for over 300 years. But I think it would be best to make a new capital around here because of its close proximity to the Pacific territories and typhoons seldom hit this area. The GDP of the new nation would probably be around 350 billion US dollars. But if they play their cards right and leverage on the fact that most of the trade between Asia and the Americas pass through here, it would probably be even more. The population of the entire nation would be quite huge, amounting to about 110 million people plus a diaspora of more than 10 million people abroad. Although diverse, the culture of the new nation would probably be very unified because, as a former part of the Spanish East Indies, the Pacific Islands mentioned actually has a culture that is very similar to that of their Filipino kin. The people of this new nation would be mostly Filipinos. Even now, a sizable proportion of the current population of the Northern Marianas and Guam, as well as that of Palau, is of Filipino descent. Some of the local people in the previously stated territories also used Filipino names and surnames. One example being the name Pangilinan, which comes from the Filipino surname Pangilinan. The current Chamorro population is believed to be partly of Filipino descent, both because of the historic links between Guam, the Northern Marianas, and the Philippines during Spanish rule, and currently through different waves of migration. The cuisines of Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and Palau are also heavily influenced by Filipino cuisine, with dishes like pancit, lumpia, kilaguen, halo-halo, and okoy being the most noticeable. So, in summary, this new nation would be a huge country surrounded by the sea. It would have one of the largest territories in the world and will have the largest EEZ in the planet. This country will have a sizable GDP and has lots of natural resources, especially marine resources. It will become a global player in the world stage because of its control of the seas, where most of the goods coming from Asia, Oceania, and America pass through. If you have any question at all, please write it down on the comment section below and I may make a video on it. This is the Ponderer, reminding you guys to always stay curious. This channel is not at all affiliated or support any political group or ideology. The purpose of this show is purely for entertainment purposes.